Hello and welcome to tonight's event. Tonight's Sip and Learn event is an informational session regarding cystic fibrosis and those who it affects, and how we're partnering to team up and support the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. So I have with me tonight Amy Johnson, who is an independent distributor for ONEHOPE Wine. So one, I want to say thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know that organizations, or nonprofit organizations, are very true to your heart just as much as they are to mine. And this month, I'm really focusing on how can I be a proud supporter and help raise funds for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So one, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kyle. I really appreciate the opportunity. Honored to be a part of your project this month, and I'm really excited that you have committed yourself to doing such great work with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So like Kyle said, I'm Amy Johnson with ONEHOPE, and for those that have never heard of ONEHOPE before, we are a charitable winery out of Napa Valley, and to date, we've been around since about 2007, and we've given back over $7.5 million to over 20,000 different charities across our nation and in the globe. And I'm really honored that we are able to give back to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation this month through a bunch of the different events that we are going to do this month. I just want to share a couple statistics because I think it's pretty fabulous about the impact that we are able to make through our main mission and vision, which is to give back to causes that help health, education, hunger, clean water, and our local nonprofits. So our 2020 impact report has some pretty amazing numbers, and I just wanted to share just really quickly how we were able to impact some really amazing causes. So $631,000 were donated to local nonprofits across the country from events like we are hosting for Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. We were able to give over $500,000 to one single nonprofit, which is Why Hunger. That's been one of our longest standing partnerships with ONEHOPE and Why Hunger. We were able to give 900 care packages mailed to healthcare heroes who are on the front line of the COVID pandemic. We have given over $50,000 to Susan G. Komen to find cures for breast cancer. We've supported the Trevor Project in over $10,000, celebrating Pride each year in June, and supporting the mental health of our LGBTQ youth. We've given high school scholarships. It was a really awesome thing to give two graduating seniors last year $10,000 scholarships each. Through the Organization for Autism Research. So as you can see, we make a really big commitment to giving back to our communities, locally, nationally, and globally. And I'm just really, really honored to be here with Kyle to help do the same for Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
Yeah, and I'm excited to be a part and glad that we were able to partner in doing this. Just for some background for you all. Again, my name is Kyle Palmer, and I run an independent business here in the city of Rochester, New York. I run it as an insurance advisor and helping folks, making sure that they're protecting their families. And so this is, for years in my previous career, I did a multitude of job roles within the organization. And during that time, I really found myself asking myself while I was at work, I'm like, am I doing enough to be impactful to my local community? How can I do more? So, at that time, I started searching around for different volunteering opportunities, became a cup master with the Boy Scouts of America to kind of volunteer some of my time and helping teach young kids a little bit about the outdoors and what obviously the different values that go along with the Scouting Association there. And then, after that, as I kind of transitioned into my business, my biggest goal was to find others in my community that will that have the same mindset, that have that mentality of giving first before looking to receive anything. I believe, in order for us to really make a dent within our communities and really just have a really impactful life altogether, is to making sure that we're always keeping the people first, not ourselves first. Obviously, we definitely need to take care of ourselves, but we should always be finding ways to give back, whether that's through foundations like the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, or whether that's doing actual volunteering within the different organizations in your communities. I found it extremely beneficial for my own well-being, knowing that I have the opportunity to participate in programs like the Rochester's Finest program that the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation has been kindly allowed, not allowed, but I've been nominated for to, and they've created a bunch of development opportunities for me. So it's really just started with me going in with the mindset of, how can I give back? And in giving back, I'm actually receiving more than I could have ever even imagined. So again, thank you all for sharing your time with us this evening. That's a little bit about myself and a little bit about Amy. Like I said, we're going to be partnering together this month on a couple other events that I'll share with you at the end of our session here. Hope that you can attend one or the other. They're kind of been fit, so it doesn't matter where you are in the United States, that you can be a part of the event and feel like you can still help your local, or help the Rochester Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in raising funds here. So part of you, if you're like
Kyle,
me,
I think
yeah,
that deserves a toast.
oh, absolutely it does.
I think we need to kick off our sip and learn with a toast.
With the toast.
For all that that you have done. I love what you stand for. I love your belief in giving back, helping others, serving your community. So cheers to you and everybody else who has that similar mindset. So
yeah, cheers to you as well, and I appreciate it again. So if you're like me, before I partnered up with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, I'm gonna see if I can navigate this. My pointer has seemed to have gone elsewhere in this on this menu, so hang tight with me. Here we go. Move this guy out of the way here. And we're coming back. All right, sorry about that. Just couldn't see anything. So yeah, so if you were like me prior to getting involved in the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation's fundraising efforts, the first thing I was asking myself is, I know nothing about cystic fibrosis. And part of that is because, one, I don't know anyone directly that has cystic fibrosis that I've crossed paths with. And if I did, that's not really something that probably comes up in conversation. So it was one of those things where I never found, or I never felt there was something I needed to look into if I didn't really know anyone personally. Now I kind of have a different perspective in believing that I can be a part of the events like this and fundraising efforts, even when I don't know someone that has it, even if I'm not directly affected. So the first thing I did was, one, what is cystic fibrosis? Cystic fibrosis, as you can see here, is a progressive genetic disease that causes persistent lung infections and limits the ability to breathe over time. Amongst lung infections, it does have a toll on other organs in the body as well. This disease affects nearly 30,000 people across the United States. For those with CF, mutations in the cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator, long word, we'll call it the CFTR gene, cause the CFTR protein to become dysfunctional. So what happens when the CFTR protein becomes dysfunctional? Without the protein, it's unable to move the chloride to the cell surface to attract water. Obviously, I think we all understand that water is a vital, we'll call it, I don't want to say mineral or nutrient, but a vital substance that we have to continue drinking much of, so we can get, so we can kind of move things throughout the body, right? I think it's 80% of the body is contained of water, whether it's in the cells or within the body itself. Could be wrong. Don't hold me to that.
doing great.
Right, trying. I mean, I'm trying. This is not the best health conversation, but so yeah. So without that chloride coming to the cell surface to attract more water, the mucus in the various organs becomes thick and sticky. And you're probably saying, well, what does that really mean? I don't know why this thing keeps hang tight with me. It's like nothing wants to Here we go. Sorry, my pointer just goes away whenever I go in full mode here. So, in those with CF, the CFTR gene is either missing, misfolded, or it just cannot penetrate the cell surface. What does that really look like? So for most of us with a healthy airway, it should look like the up here on the top here, you'll see that the airway that's not obstructed by any means. There's nothing clogging up the actual airways, so you can get breaths in and out pretty normal. Those with cystic fibrosis, if we were just talking about that mucus that builds up within the actual airways, this also can go to your other organs. So you can kind of see an X-ray view between normal lungs and patients with cystic fibrosis, what their lungs tend to look like. So as you can imagine, it makes it extremely difficult for them to just go out their normal day, their normal daily lives and breathe like the rest of us. Something to make sure that we're not all taking taking for granted. We don't all have the luxury of healthy airways and breathing normally. And what you'll see later on are some treatments that they tend to have to go through in order to even breathe semi-normally. So, some interesting facts about cystic fibrosis in the Rochester area and surrounding areas. We have approximately 85 pediatric patients and 90 adult patients. Now, what's is a great piece of that is that it's starting to meet a point where we have more adults than we have pediatric patients. So over the last year, the split has become more adults than children. And just what that means is that now with drugs like Trikafta and some of the different treatments that are available for those with cystic fibrosis, it's not saying that we're eliminating the gene being passed on, but they're seeing less of patients that have actual cystic fibrosis. So life expectancy prior to the approval of the Trikafta drug was typically in your late 20s to early 30s. Now, I don't know about the rest of you because I'm not here asking different ages, but to give you some reference, I'm 36. If I had cystic fibrosis, probably 5+ years ago, the likelihood of me exceeding my early 30s was very slim. Now, I know some of us, it's hard to kind of imagine that because a lot of us believe, oh, well, normal life expectancy for your average person is mid 80s, 85, 86. So when you're cutting that by 50 years, it's significant to those who have CF. So those with CF explaining breathing to me, the couple conversations I've been a part of, the trainings that I've had access to with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, they kind of explain breathing as if you're breathing through a straw. Now, it's not like for a portion of time. That's probably for a majority of their lives that they're having to do that. Now, obviously, going through different breathing treatments helps kind of loosen some of that up and get things moving. But as you can imagine, breathing through a straw is probably not the most the best situation to kind of be in. So about 30% of the people with cystic fibrosis actually develop diabetes. And then people with CF always have to be thinking about potential infections and staying away from others who are sickly. Another thing that I learned during these seminar or these webinars I've been a part of with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is that more times than not, you won't see those with cystic fibrosis in the same room with each other. They try to keep their distance. They've been playing by the 6-foot rule longer than we've even thought about it over the past 2 years while the pandemic has been here. So that's just been a way of life for them to keep themselves safe from others that could potentially infect them as well. So, obviously, with cystic fibrosis, it can lead to other lung disease, including sinus issues, pancreatic insufficiencies, infertility in males, and chronic pain. And kind of give you an idea of what the cycle of lung damage in those with cystic fibrosis. Obviously, we talked about the CFTR gene mutation. Then the protein becomes dysfunctional. And then after the protein becomes dysfunctional, now they're having defective mucociliary clearance. So you saw the airways being clogged up, that cilia isn't able to move that mucus down and clear it out of the airways. So the airways become obstructed. And next thing you know, you have inflammation that leads to infection and just kind of goes in the cycle. So it's a constant battle for folks with cystic fibrosis for them to have clear clear breathing for one thing. Again, like I said, it not only affects the lungs, but it also affects other organs within the body as well. So what does treatment look like for a cystic fibrosis patient? So here's just a kind of a list of some of the daily things that they have to go through. So albuterol nebulizer treatment, vest therapy. If you see the young lady at the bottom, she's actually wearing a vest that actually shakes and kind of I don't want to say beats her body, but it shakes up her lungs so it can kind of move some of that stuff around. So obviously, because it doesn't have that cilia to move it along the airways. The saline nebulizer, antibiotic inhaler, steroid inhaler, occasional 2 to 3 week hospital visits or at-home visits that they have to go through, PICC line for antibiotics through IV 4 times a day with airway clearance. They got to eat twice as much, sometimes up to 4,500 calories a day just to get the nutrition that they need. X-rays, blood draws, sometimes insulin. We talked about them potentially getting, potentially becoming diabetic as part of it. So, what kind of, in the past years, what has been accomplished through the help of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation? Outside of Trikafta, they've also helped find research and develop treatments for those with cystic fibrosis. So Trikafta was approved in 2019 by the FDA as a triple combination therapy option for those affected by CF. Now, they found that 90% of those that had this particular CFTR gene was found most effective in. So obviously there's still research to be done to help find the solution or find the treatment and potentially the cure for the 90%, but especially those other 10% that are being affected, but there's just not, they don't have the gene that's most effective with the Trikafta treatment. So they're continuous research, and that's part of why we're doing this as far as the awareness of cystic fibrosis, along with continuing to raise funds that helps through with the research and development of new drugs to help find a cure for cystic fibrosis. Also, life expectancy has been improved. I told you earlier that if this were 5 to 10 years ago, you probably wouldn't see anyone past the ages of 32 years old or early 30s with cystic fibrosis, because they would have unfortunately passed by then. Now, through the use or through the approved drug Trikafta and some other treatments that have been available to those with cystic fibrosis, that has improved their life expectancy to 47 years old. So imagine you're, if you can imagine that you have cystic fibrosis and you're going to work every day and you're just, whatever obviously income that you're making, you're saying, hey, listen, I'm just going to spend all this because I'm not going to make it past 32 years old or, whatever early time frame that was. Now, there's a whole nother thought process behind it. So when you're talking about going from 32 years old to 47 years old, well, now we have another 15 years that we need to be thinking about, especially when it comes to saving money and making sure that we're planning for the future a little bit more. So some very interesting facts there and some what's been accomplished by the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in the past. So our goal is to increase awareness through education. Also, it's to fundraise in order to help the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation continue their research to find a cure, as well as inform others of the resources available to battling CF and their caregivers. Sometimes we think about the patient, but we also have to keep in mind that there has to be someone there that will help them through the treatments. That could be a mother, could be a father, could be friends, could be other family that are there to help them through this life of living with cystic fibrosis. So our goal is to continue to get others involved, to help raise funds and bring awareness, to help us find a cure for cystic fibrosis. And I did put in here the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation's mission. It's pretty simple, and I think we can all understand this. The mission of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is to cure cystic fibrosis and to provide all people with CF the opportunity to lead long, fulfilling lives by funding research and drug development, partnering with the cystic fibrosis community, and advancing high-quality specialized care. So that's something that I can get behind because I believe in the power of the people. So when we're asking others to get involved and reach out to the local chapters of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, see what you can do to help partner with them. So see what you can do to maybe help create awareness or help fundraise to help continue the research and development to finding a cure. So I mentioned earlier that we have a couple upcoming events, which we'll post about as well if you're following us on LinkedIn or on Facebook. We'll also put these events in Eventbrite as well. So we have 2 events later on this month. September 26th, we're doing an in-person wine tasting event, which we'll be announcing the location here in the next week. And then Thursday, September 30th, we're doing a virtual wine tasting. As I mentioned earlier as well, is that no matter where you are in the United States, you can be a part of these events. Specifically, obviously, the virtual wine tasting event. I know that for me, I have a lot of friends and family back home in Florida, but I know that these things can tend to be shared nationwide. So all are available, all are welcome to join these wine tasting events. Amy will actually be will be giving us a great sampling, I guess. I mean, the goal here is to make sure that you're purchasing your wine ahead of the virtual wine tasting event, and also the in-person event if you want to bring your own bottle. They have wine tasting flights. They have full bottles. They have the works. So I recommend checking out the website, the link that I'm going to share with you here in a minute. She's going to be walking through the different notes, I guess. I mean, I'm not a wine vino
the
connoisseur,
profiles.
right?
Yeah.
So
we will all be far more educated on the wine experience after both of these events. So I'm looking forward to those.
I'm looking forward to you educating me on wine, because I just, for me, it's always a learning experience. Not my go-to choice of beverage, but as I was showing you earlier, I'm drinking the rest of my wife's Sauvignon Blanc. So I'll have to replace it with another bottle, which is already on the way from ONEHOPE Wine. So outside of those 2 wine tasting events, I also have a Breathe for Pints event, that I'm going to be announcing more information on in the next week as well, as I kind of partner up with one of the local breweries, and potentially a couple other events that I keep everyone posted on. So some resources that are available to you if you want to learn more about cystic fibrosis and what it means to partner with us and what it means to be a supporting partner for anyone that you know, friends or family with cystic fibrosis. I encourage you to go to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation's website. They have a lot of great content there that you can learn, a lot of great YouTube access as well. They've got a bunch of YouTube videos if you prefer to learn by video. That's honestly how I learned a lot of the stuff that I'm now knowledgeable on when it comes to cystic fibrosis. Obviously, the whole point of this is that we're making sure that we're collecting donations, whether that be direct donations, if you just want to make a monetary donation to me and the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, or you can also do you can purchase a bottle of your favorite wine or multiple wines if you like, which we prefer, where a donation is made on your behalf. I'm going to let Amy talk to you a little bit too, if you own a business and you're kind of looking ahead in the upcoming quarter of how you can maybe use ONEHOPE in this opportunity to obviously show a little bit of employee appreciation. Obviously, we tend to have a lot of those holiday events toward the end of the year. I'm going to let Amy kind of explain a little bit about the corporate gifting opportunities that are available as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyle. Really appreciated the information and education that you shared with us. And again, the whole idea is to give back to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. We want them to be able to find a cure, and every dollar contributed to them is going to help them do just that. So with ONEHOPE, we have the ability to help support that cause through our wine purchases. And it's already September. We just enjoyed Labor Day weekend. And now we're into all things fall, all things holiday. And our October, November, December quarter is the time where people are gifting wine. We're drinking wine. We've got our holidays to celebrate. So in that spirit of forward thinking and planning ahead, there's no better time than to give back to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation with these purchases. So with our in-person event, that's a great interactive way where you get to sample before you purchase. Our virtual event is something that I will speak to, each of the wines that we select, but we will be, obviously virtually explaining them and not necessarily tasting before you buy. But always a great opportunity to still learn about it, have a virtual wine experience, and learn more about what we do at ONEHOPE to support our charities. With the corporate gifting, this is a really tremendous way that you can make a big impact to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So if there are areas in your budget where you do holiday gifting, employee appreciation, client appreciation, and if in any way, shape, or form you are giving gifts, there's no better way than give a gift that gives back to a cause. And our gifting department is amazing. I would be your right-hand woman to help organize those events, ship them out. So I would be honored to help you in that and take that task off your hands while supporting this amazing organization. We'll share my contact information as well, an email, a text, a phone call, however you'd like to get a hold of me to answer your questions about corporate gifting. We do personalizations, we do gift boxes, we have logos and stickers that we can make for really truly beautiful gift boxes. Actually, those are launching September 14th. There's your sneak peek. Beautiful
Nice.
new gifting options there. So we would love to support you, support CFF.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, so many ways that we can give back to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So many ways that, if you're a business owner, obviously you can give gifts to your employees to show your appreciation. Those are all great opportunities for you to get involved as well. Maybe you have your own nonprofit organization that you want to support. Maybe you want to talk about how can, if you have kids, maybe they want to talk about fundraising for particular school programs. These are all areas that Amy can definitely help you in. She's been a delight to work with as we've planned these different events through the month. So I'm looking forward to the 2 tasting events that we have coming up. Also, just to speak to the 2 tasting events, make sure that if you are ordering for those events to get your wine orders in before September 15th, if you would like to have your bottle of wine in hand while we're going through the different tastings. But we're accepting any purchases for wine up until, I believe we said September 30th was the day that we would be including all of those purchases for donating towards the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
That is correct. Yeah.
Perfect. So lastly, now being a part of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and learning and being a part of this whole Rochester's Finest program process, the great thing is they actually pair you with someone who has cystic fibrosis. And at the bottom here, you'll see I was fortunate enough to be partnered up with a gentleman that is part of a foundation called the Just Breathe Foundation. So I encourage you to go to the website here and check out the video that they have. It's a short film. It's I think it's between 10 to 15 minutes long, that I highly recommend you check out. It's called 3 Lives. You'll find it in the middle of the page. You can also, there is an option to donate to that foundation directly through there as well, if you enjoyed the content that they provided. But these are just a few resources that you can access and that obviously is shareable. So I'll make sure to give you all access to to these resources as well, that you can kind of go check this stuff out and learn a little bit more and see how you can get involved. So lastly, I understand that time is very valuable to all of us. So one, I want to make sure that thank you for spending your time with us this evening. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you see why I got involved with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and also maybe that's something that maybe that you would want to get involved in as well. So I just put a little note here at the end. This is just a reminder that we can all make a difference in our communities, no matter how small, no matter how big. Those with cystic fibrosis and their caregivers appreciate however you decide to make a difference, and we thank you for your support. So Again, thank you for spending your time with us tonight. Amy, thank you so much for joining me this evening and going through this sip and learn session. This was a first for me. I don't know if it was a first for you, but it was definitely, I enjoyed the process of us coming to this point and being able to share this information amongst our communities and, pushing forward with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and seeing how we can support them.
I love that very much. Thank you again for the collaboration.
Right. Well, we wish all of you a happy evening. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week. We look forward to seeing you at our wine tasting events later this month. Obviously, if you have questions, you can reach out to myself or you can reach out directly to Amy as well. More than likely, if you're seeing this, you're probably seeing this on Facebook or you're probably seeing this on LinkedIn. Do not hesitate to reach out to either one of us to ask how you can make a difference and how you can contribute towards the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in our efforts to find a cure. Wishing you all the best. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Take care.
Take care, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.